but 2 earned runs, 4 hits, 69 pitches for Quintana. And to be honest with you guys, I worked yesterday. I was out with friends last night, and then obviously this morning I had the bad news about my dog, sadly. But I'm not sure why Quintana was pulled here, and I feel like I missed something, but I didn't read anything about Quintana being injured. Give me 1 second here. Let me just look up his name. Just want to look up his name, make sure there's nothing recent on him. Sorry, I'm stupid. This is the rain game. Right, okay. 5th inning. I got it now. Whoop. All right. Going back, because you see, it's a lot different when I'm just going off of like MLB.com. It's just showing me the stats of everything, the hard numbers. And the storyline behind the games is hidden. And since I'm on my phone, I can't look at my posts on Instagram because those have like the storyline kind of more. But anyways, back to this. A 4-hour rain delay, or around there, I think it was. And at that time, the score was 2-2. I know that. Okay, yeah, we're right there. Paul Goldschmidt hit his 12th homer of the season to tie it at 1 in the first inning off of Quintana. And then Hayward grabbed that 1-run lead right back with his 9th homer of the season. Once again, Jason Hayward really seeing that power come back. If we could see 22, 23 plus homers from Jay Hay this year, that would be wonderful. And that's exactly around where he's on pace for. However, Marcell Ozuna's RBI single in the 3rd tied it up at 2. And then Tyler Chatwood came in after the rain delay. He struggled, though. He racked up his first loss of the year. 5 hits, 3 earned runs across 2 innings pitched. No walks for Chatwood, which was good to see, and only 1 strikeout. But he struggled. He gave up an RBI double, followed by an RBI single by Dexter, and then Colton Wong's RBI double. That led to a 3-run 6th inning, all those off Chatwood. Gave the Cardinals a 5-2 lead. The Cubs did come back a little bit. David Bodie's RBI double in the 7th made it, and that was off John Brebbia, I believe. Yeah. I want to make sure. I think his first name's John. Anyways, if it's not, I'm sorry. It just says Brebbia. But yep, David Bodie, RBI double, made it 3-5, and then Chris Bryant's RBI force out, or ground out, I should say, made it 5-4. However, Dexter Fowler and Harrison Bader both went deep in the 8th for both of them, their 5th homers of the season. Those are back-to-backs, and those homers came off of who here? Let's see. Those homers came off of Kyle Ryan, who struggled. He only got 2 outs, 3 hits, 2 earned runs off 3 hits. C.J. Edwards had a clean inning in the 3rd. It's been good to see him kind of calm down now to a 6.75 ERA on the season. But this game was highlighted by the rain delay, and then obviously the Cardinals had better pitching. Brebbia did struggle, but guys like John Gant and obviously Andrew Miller, and it goes down the list, Giovanni Gallegos, and then Carlos Martinez to close it out for his first save of the season. The Cardinals just play better in the end. I think they had more focus out of the delay, I should say. And I think that's what led to the Cubs dropping this game. And eventually that led to today's game, which was not good either. Also I should mention that the Cubs and Cardinals both only had 4 chances in yesterday's game with runners in scoring position. And both teams left 5 men on base. So a game with a lot of deja vu, I should say, with all these numbers. A very similar game kind of on both sides, besides the fact that the Cardinals had 5 more hits. But anyways, let's get into June 2nd. That's today, and that's today's loss. The Cubs lost for the 2nd time this series by a score of 2-1. However, this one wasn't extra innings, and this one featured 7 hits total in the game. Yes, that's right, 7 hits. The Cubs only accounted for 3 of those. Kyle Schwarber had 1, Chris Bryant had 1, and Jason Hayward had 1. However, at least the Cubs had a good eye today. Kyle Schwarber took 2 walks, and Wilson Contreras took 2 walks. That number for the Cubs added up to 8 total walks on the day. Adam Wainwright brought a no-hitter into the 6th inning. He ended with 7 walks, 8 strikeouts, and he went 8 innings as he earned his 5th win of the year with a record of 5-5 now. The old veteran still kicking it, I guess. John Hicks recorded his second hold, Jordan Hicks, his second hold this season, and then John Gant had his 3rd save of the season, as the Cubs offense really didn't do anything today. 0 for 4 with runners in scoring position, 7 men left on base. Like I said, 3 singles for the Cubs. That's it for hits. Addison Russell did have an RBI in the 9th, but it was a force out, and the Cubs had already trailed 2-0. It was a 0-0 game until the 5th when Colton Wong had a sac fly to make it 1-0, and then Matt Carpenter gave them an important insurance run in the 8th. Because otherwise Addison's force out would have tied the game and led to another extra innings game. But overall, today, Cole Hamels was great, 7 innings, only 2 hits. He gave up a run, but it was unearned, 2 walks and 4 strikeouts. And Brad Brock gave up that 1 run to Matt Carpenter in the 8th, and then Mike Montgomery came on in the 8th there to close it out. He gave up a hit, but then ended up recording the last out for the Cubs in the 8th, or I should say for the Cardinals at bats in the 8th. But, in this game, the Cardinals 1 for 3 with runners in scoring position. They only left 2 men on base, showing that, we walked 2 batters and we gave up 4 hits today. So, the Cardinals had six men reach base, whereas you look at us, we only had 3 hits, but they only had 4, and we had 8 walks. So 11 guys reaching base and only 1 run produced. That's not going to get it done, and everyone knows that. But people get caught up in the Cubs pitching and a lot of stuff like that. But I always like to tell people, especially usually it's kind of like a joke whenever the first run's scored by the other team. It's kind of like, okay, well, we weren't going to win without scoring. And you look at a game like today, we scored 1, but it was in the 9th on a force out. And I don't even know how many outs there were. I wouldn't even be surprised if there was 2. I'm not exactly sure. But anyways, it was a fairly disappointing game for the Cubs yet again, and it actually was the second out. I just want to mention that. But overall, the Cubs went 1-5 this week. Like I said, they dropped 2 of 3 against Houston. They won the last one, and then sadly they got swept by the Cardinals this weekend. And now let's look at, I'm going to pull up the MLB standings, because with wins yesterday and today, the Milwaukee Brewers have officially taken over the NL Central as they take first place. They're 8 games over 500 compared to the Cubs 5 games over 500. The Brewers have played 3 more games at a record of 34-26. The Cubs at a record of 31-26. The Cubs are now a game and a half behind. They're 2-8 in their last 10. And clearly a glaring weakness on the road. A 13-16 record. 18-10 at home, I believe, is the best. It is the best out of the NL Central teams at home. But also with the Cardinals sweeping this weekend, that brings them right back into the division talks, as they found themselves at first, I believe, 26-28 at a point, and now they're 30-28. I want to say they won 4 straight, as they won a game before facing us. But either way, even if they were 27-28, 3 straight wins for the Cardinals puts them fairly into the conversation. But let's get into now the last week or so for all the teams in the NL Central, and we're going to start with the Milwaukee Brewers. Just give me a second here to pull this up as we dive into the Brewers' last week of games. And we have about 5 minutes left here for you guys. All right, so looking at the Brewers' last week of games, they faced the Twins here in beautiful Minneapolis, Minnesota, and they split a 2-game quick series for Memorial Day and the day after. Memorial Day, they won 5-4, followed by a 5-3 loss. And how about those Twins, guys? 40-18. They took 3 of 4 against Tampa this weekend after an off day Wednesday. And, I mean, living in Minnesota, I should say, it's pretty crazy to see the amount of love that team is getting all of a sudden. But I should say that I think that team deserves more love because, I still see empty seats at games and stuff like that. However, ticket prices have gone up accordingly. But the Brewers then took 3 of 4 against the Pirates, a good series for the Brewers. Like we said, they won the last 2. Yesterday's game, 12-10 in a shootout, and the first game they scored 11. So a high-scoring series besides the game today by a score of 4-2, but they got the job done. And looking at the week ahead for them, they face the Marlins at home, and then have this very same Pirates team at home for a 3-game weekend series this week, who they just beat 3 of 4 against. So the Brewers appear to most likely be atop the NL Central still when we talk next week. Hopefully the Cubs can win tomorrow, but they have a hot Colorado team coming to town, and then they have St. Louis coming to town next weekend. So it's going to be a tough week or so. But that's what's going to build character for this team. And I don't want a cakewalk through matchups as well. Let's look into the St. Louis Cardinals schedule, or last week of games. Obviously, they beat us, and they swept us. But before that, they actually lost a 3-game series versus the Phillies. They lost the first 2, ended up avoiding the sweep on Thursday by a score of 5-3, but a good week for the Cardinals overall, being that, they go 4-2 on the week. You're never going to be disappointed with that. Let's look at the Pittsburgh Pirates. Obviously, they lost 3 of 4 against the Brewers this weekend, but looking at their schedule before that, earlier this week, the Pirates, let's see here. They actually, they split a 4-game series with the Cincinnati Reds. They won the first and the last game. They actually kind of got pounded in the second and third games, as they lost by a combined score of 19-7 in those 2. But they won the first one 8-5 and the last one 7-2. And then let's look at the Cincinnati Reds, as we just have a little bit more time here. The Cincinnati Reds, after splitting that series with the Pirates, the Reds lost this weekend. A 3-game series. They lost 2 of 3 against the Washington Nationals at Great American Small Park. The Reds won the first game 9-3, but lost yesterday 5-2, and then lost today 4-1. So that's your recap for the NL Central. And with that, guys, I'm going to go through, I was going to say that's the end of the show, but we have about a minute here, so I'm going to go through the Cubs' schedule as we come up here. Obviously, they play tomorrow at 3:05 Central Time. That'll be right-hander Trevor Cahill going up against lefty John Lester, as the Cubs look to get Lester back on track after 3 bad outings, like I mentioned before, 3 straight bad outings. And then they'll have the visiting red-hot Colorado Rockies. I'm not sure if they won today. Just give me 1 second here. Because if they won today, I believe they're on an 8-game win streak, and they did win today. They're 31-27. They're white hot. They come to Chicago. I'm going to be very excited for that series, even though it may be a tough one. A 3-game series versus them, Tuesday through Thursday, and then we'll have a matinee on Friday as the Cardinals come to Wrigley Field. Friday is my birthday, so hopefully the Cubs can get a win there. And then they'll play Saturday night before a Sunday night baseball matchup on ESPN against the division-leading, sadly, St. Louis Cardinals. But with that, guys, that's it for the Ivy podcast here. That's going to wrap it up here on June 2nd. We look forward to seeing you next week on June 9th for what will be the 23rd episode of the Ivy, as the Cubs will look to hopefully get back on track and win these next 2 series. Well, hopefully tomorrow against the Angels, and then win these next 2 series. At least catch 2 out of 3, maybe a sweep against Colorado and St. Louis. But the specific time for next week's podcast will be to be determined. I'll let you guys know when everything's coming out. It'll usually probably be on late Sunday night, early Monday morning. But as always, go Cubs go. and I hope you guys have a relaxing rest of your Sunday night and a great start